Hello listeners, and welcome back to Sandman Stories Presents. Today I get to say something I haven't said in a long time. This is the final story of this book. The name of the book is The Cat and the Mouse, Persian Folktale Stories, edited by Hartwell James. It's a shorter book with only a handful of stories, and this is the last one, and probably my favorite one in the book. It's about a king and a queen and a fisherman. The queen gets mad when the king starts making it rain on a fisherman just because he brought him some fish. She tries to get him to ask for the money back, but then the king says no backsies. Well, then the queen gets clever, but so does the fisherman. So let's see who wins it in the end. Okay, let's begin this final story. The King and the Fisherman. The countries washed by the great rivers Tigris and Euphrates were once ruled by a certain king who was passionately fond of fish. He was seated one day with his wife Shireen in the royal gardens that stretch down to the banks of the Tigris, at the point where it is spanned by a wonderful bridge of boats, and looking up spied a boat gliding by, in which was seated a fisherman having a large fish. Noticing that the king was looking closely at him, and knowing how much the king liked this particular kind of fish, the fisherman made his obeisance, and skillfully bringing his boat to the shore, came before the king and begged that he would accept the fish as a present. The king was greatly pleased at this, and ordered that a large sum of money be given to the fisherman. But before the fisherman had left the royal presence, the queen turned towards the king and said, "You have done a foolish thing." The king was astonished to hear her speak in this way, and asked her how that could be. The queen replied, "The news of your having given so large a reward for so small a gift will spread throughout the city, and it will be known as the fisherman's gift. Every fisherman who catches a big fish will bring it to the palace, and should he not be paid in like manner, he will go away discontented and secretly speak evil of you among his fellows." "You speak the truth, light of my eyes," said the king, "but can you not see how mean it would be for a king, if for that reason he were to take back his gift?" Then, perceiving that the queen was ready to argue the matter, he turned away angrily, saying, "The matter is closed." However, later in the day, when he was in a more amiable frame of mind, the queen again approached him and said that if that was his only reason for not taking back his gift, she would arrange it. "You must summon the fisherman," she said, "and then ask him, 'Is this fish male or female?' If he says male, then you will tell him that you wanted a female fish. But if he should say female, your reply will be that you wanted a male fish. In this way, the matter will be properly adjusted." The king thought this an easy way out of the difficulty, and commanded the fisherman to be brought before him. When the fisherman, who by the way was a most intelligent man, stood before the king said to him, "Oh, fisherman, tell me, is this fish male or female?" The fisherman replied, "The fish is neither male nor female." Whereupon the king smiled at the clever answer, and to add to the queen's annoyance, directed the keeper of the royal purse to give the fisherman a further sum of money. Then the fisherman placed the money in his leather bag, thanked the king, and swinging the bag over his shoulder, hurried away, but not so quickly that he did not notice that he had dropped one small coin. Placing the bag on the ground, he stooped and picked up the coin, and again went on his way, with the king and queen carefully watching his every action. "Look, what a miser he is," said Shireen triumphantly. "He actually put down his bag to pick up one small coin because it grieved him to think that it might reach the hands of one of the king's servants, or some poor person who, needing it, would buy bread and pray for a long life of the king." "Again, you speak the truth," replied the king, feeling the justice of this remark. And once more the fisherman was brought into the royal presence. "Are you a human being or a beast?" the king asked him. "Although I made it possible for you to become rich without toil, yet the miser within you could not allow you to leave one small piece of money for others. Then the king bade him go forth and show his face no more within the city. At this the fisherman fell on his knees and cried, "Hear me, O king, protector of the poor. May God grant the king a long life. Not for its value did thy servant pick up the coin, but because on one side it bore the name of God, and on the other the likeness of the king. Your servant feared that someone, not seeing the coin, would tread on it into the dirt, and thus defile both the name of God and the face of the king. Let the king judge if by doing so I have merited reproach." This answer pleased the king beyond all measure, and he gave the fisherman another large sum of money. And the queen's wrath was turned away, and she looked kindly upon the fisherman as he departed with his bag laden with money. The end. As you know, I'm always a fan of underdog tales. I like how the fisherman was able to be smart and win lots of money. I also understand the queen's perspective because playing fast and loose with your money is a good way to be broke quickly. I also like that the fisherman didn't do anything tricky or didn't try to steal or anything. He was just rewarded for bringing the king a fish. So all in all, a feel-good story. For the podcaster Shoutout, it's been a while since I shouted out this pod. So this one goes out to Paul and Donna of the Varmints podcast. This podcast is really good for kids who want to learn about animals. Paul and Donna are themselves big kids who just love animals, and it shows. There's also a special Rugrat Corner for the pod, where any listener under 8 can submit their voice message about an animal, and the Varmints team will add it to an episode. It is a great way for young voices to get involved with animals and radio. They are also super kind people and very helpful. And so if you like their pod as much as I do, go and give them a 5-star rating on Podchaser or iTunes or Good Pods or Spotify. And the listener shout-out is to my newest country on the listenership list, Ghana. Specifically, I'm going to say thank you to the capital city of Accra. The city was named in the Twi language after the numerous anthills that surround the city. So this is a capital named Ants. Ghana is a multilingual country featuring such various languages as the branches of Akan, which includes Twi, and that's where we get a lot of the Anansi stories. There's also the Dagare family of languages, and there's more than 70 others, including Ga and Kasim. Here in South Korea, there's a famous celebrity who moved to Korea from Ghana, and his name is Sam Ochiri. There's also a wonderful book by E.J. Asare about a boy named Johnny who moves to Korea from Ghana. I'll leave a link to it in the show notes. And I'm going to attempt Twi. It's also known as Akan. It's one of the Akan family languages. And there weren't a lot of resources that I could find, but I'm going to try it. And it's also a tonal language, so that's a difficulty for me as I am pretty well bad at tones. But here it goes. Medasi na deye. Thank you, and good night.